Hello there, Nebulous Scholar and Post here, with Magical Battle Arena. I wasn't sure if I was capable of commentating over this live, since there's a fair amount of jank in this old Dojin game. The original Magical Battle Arena was released at Comiket 74 in 2008 by Fly System and Area Zero, but it was continually updated until the 1.70 complete form version in 2010. As you can see, this is the fully updated complete form. So I've got the full package here. As the name implies, this game's got an entire cast of magical girls. The original roster took from Nanoha, Cardcaptor Sakura, and Area Zero's original eroge that no one has heard of, Kirara and Sarara. Later they added Slayers, Mahojin Guruguru, and Nanoha Strikers. It's a 3D arena fighter that also includes vertical flight for the full magical girl mobility experience. Now, I've made a mistake here. I've launched the game without an app locale, meaning my computer doesn't know how to display the Japanese. To be honest, I hadn't planned on reading, translating, or showcasing the story since, well, that'd take a lot of time that I unfortunately don't have. That's why I didn't really bother relaunching before playing through Nanoha's story. Interestingly, this game released way before the first Nanoha portable game, which came out in 2011. Meaning it's one of her first depictions in a video game, although it's obviously not official. This is only really relevant since this game ends up treating Nanoha as the de facto protagonist amongst all the other playable magical girls. The games do resemble each other visually, but the variety of systems between the two games means they end up playing very differently. As I've said, gameplay can be pretty jank, which for a Dojin game of this scale during that time period was pretty standard. As a whole, it's rather impressively put together, and it's good fun. Most every character has a basic melee combo, a charged melee strike which knocks down and knocks back, and a basic projectile attack. Melee-oriented characters usually have a slower, bigger projectile, while range-focused characters can more reliably fire off a quick barrage. Both basic projectiles and dash and drain the mana meter, which recharges over time but can also be manually charged a la Dragon Ball. One thing I do love are these title cards between fights. They're made to resemble episode title cards from an anime, and they're unique to their character. Everyone who has a story mode entry has their own chapters with title cards. Unfortunately, only a few of the characters get story modes, that being Nanoha, Fate, Sakura, Kirara, Sarara, Lina, Naga, Kukuri, and then Ruru and Noel when they're unlocked. Okay, so, back to character movesets. Every character, with the exception of the one obvious Joe character, has access to 3 spells, which vary based on the source material. For example, Nanoha has Axle Shooter, Divine Buster, and Protection. Some spells can be charged for more effectiveness, others can only be cast after a full charge. After use, a spell needs to undergo a cooldown period before being used again. By filling a gauge, a character can enter Burst Mode, granting infinite stamina, faster spell recharge, and extended combos for a limited time. In addition, the character can immediately expend Burst Mode to activate one of their 2 ultimate moves, although the second ultimate requires the character to be within critical health. Sticking with Nanoha, for example, she can use Starlit Breaker in Burst Mode, but needs to be at critical health to use Excellion Buster ACS. Now, these ultimate spells tend to have a long wind-up coupled with monologues, but gameplay doesn't stop when you activate them, unlike in other games. Instead, your character gets surrounded by a shield as they prepare the attack. If you mistime or misposition the spell, however, a persistent enemy can break the shield to hit you, interrupting the cast and cancelling your move. You may have noticed it a couple times now, but knockdown in this game is some nonsense. Depending on the attack, you can get knocked down for a long time, and you are entirely vulnerable for its duration. You can even get scooped up by hit grab attacks, which end up leaving you in a renewed knockdown. I've been unable to find a way to tech knockdowns reliably, or even get up faster, so getting knocked down just feels like an overly harsh punishment. And when there's multiple foes blasting your unconscious body, your health pool can melt very quickly while you're unable to respawn. That's just one of the few jank bits that I mentioned before. They're more prominent on harder difficulties or in the challenge missions, so I'm not ashamed to say that I played through the story on easy. I did play through all the missions though, for the sake of unlocking every character, but I didn't want to record all my hours of suffering. It was a lot of suffering. And speaking of suffering, here we go again. I've been knocked down by fate, and continually barraged while I'm down, with nothing that I can do. I mean, maybe I can more tactically guard, and, be better at the game. But the fact of the matter is, when you're hit like that, once you make the mistake, that's pretty much it. I don't know how much damage I really took just by laying there, getting blasted by all her spells, but again, imagine if there were multiple enemies that were targeting you, because this is a game where that can happen.
Ready? Go!
In a notable variation from other arena fighters, Magical Battle Arena allows more than 2 combatants on a large field. Multiplayer allows up to 4 players, while story mode and missions will drop however many players it feels like. This is why ultimate spells get shields, especially when their cinematics can last up to a full 15 seconds. It allows people to continue playing while keeping a player safe as they lose control during the cinematic. Multiple players also allows for team battles for maximum friendship magic. Just do be careful of friendly fire. It is on, you will block friendly shots, and you will take damage from them. So, don't be too friendly now, you hear? Looking at the character animations, they cover the range from surprisingly well done and accurate to the source material to, I guess they couldn't figure out how to make it look right in the end. Most of the time, melee just doesn't feel right. The animations look stylish enough, but they lack impact, proper hit stop or screen shake, and other general design points that would give them that punch that people look for. Charge attacks are finicky, sometimes not even registering, and the animation to let you know they've started isn't really clear. Normally, lock-on isn't a problem, especially if the fight is one-on-one. But when you cycle through lock-on options, it's based on the decided enemy order, not on proximity. This is especially problematic in story and mission mode, when you're looking for your main target, or even just the most nearby target, but the next enemy on the list is on the opposite side of the map. It's not exactly an efficient way to handle things. If this weren't a 14-year-old game likely made in an attic by a guy and his friends, I'd be more annoyed, but it's honestly quite the achievement. If anything, it's a saving grace that modern magical girls can unleash the friendship-powered equivalent of tactical nukes. Big spells in this game have area of effect, so crowd of enemies can be disassembled with a good series of blasts. It also makes up for the fact that enemies can be very agile, meaning focused or narrow attacks can be dodged with little problem. I guess that's why a lot of modern magical girls also pack homing projectiles too. Cinematic melee rush spells are also harder to dodge, but unlike ultimates, they don't get a shield. You may not get interrupted out of the hit grab animation, but you will take any and all damage sent your way. It's unfortunate that melee type fighters are severely disadvantaged by this in crowded fights. I mean, yeah, it has grounds and realism, but what grounds are there when you're flying in the sky? So, this has been going on, but I'm playing as Nanoha, fighting a squad of other Nanoha. It's weird, but it's part of the overarching story in this game. Every character's story has a moment where they fight a full team of themselves, and some of those fights are harder than others since, well, some characters are just better than others. Just know, the potential headache is there, and it is not this Nanoha fight. So, let me get to exactly what is going on. Basically, in this Magical Girl multiverse, powerful magical girls are pulled from the various universes to battle in a tournament, with the winner being granted a wish. Of course, this is a lie. Turns out, the multiverse has a central magical source shared between them, and anytime something major happens, aka an anime-worthy event, balance catastrophically shifts. To fix this, a strong magical girl is sacrificed to be the core of the mechanism managing the source, thereby fixing the balance until she's expended, and then they need to repeat the process. Naturally, the winner of the multi-dimensional tournament is the chosen core, and they're not too fond of this idea. So, they fight back against Rudu and Noelle, friends who oversee the mechanism, to get them to change their mind about the system, and of course also to become their friends. It is very much an excuse plot just to have a crossover of different franchises in a big magic battle arena. But let's be honest, what crossover game depends on a solid premise to have an excuse for big crossovers? My only complaint is that they should have gone for more serious diversity. Listen, I love Nanoha myself. When half the cast is just all Nanoha characters, and then later the portable games came out, meaning the other series end up lacking representation. I'd talk about the sequel, Magical Battle Arena, next, but that also suffers from a different yet similar problem, so that's for another time. Basically, more magical girls. Everywhere. Different ones. You may notice, Ryu gave me a good lot of trouble here. I mentioned that melee units have something of a disadvantage in an arena filled with enemies that can shoot you. Problem is, she's the one with the squad, and she is surprisingly relentless. It's hard to focus her down since there's drones peppering you with shots and beams, and then she'll pop up with her strong attacks. Basically, playing her multi-match, where you fight against a team of Rudu clones, is considered to be one of the hardest story fights in the entire game. Just think, a group of enemies that consecutively hit you with strong melee, a counter super, a hit grab super that'll scoop you out of knockdown, a barrage super that is actually a really good projectile for a melee unit? It's hard, even on easy. Still, you need to beat Rudu's story if you want to unlock Noelle.
繰り返される悲しみも悪い夢もきっと終わらせられる。レディーゴー。
Unlocking the characters is also a bit odd. The starting roster consists of Nanoha and Fate from Nanoha A's, Kidara and Sasara from Area Zero's original game, and Sakura of Cardcaptor Sakura. The original characters Rudu and Noelle are unlocked by clearing the story mode with anyone, and then clearing with Rudu respectively. The Gadget Drone from Nanoha Strikers, which serve as grunt units in the story, can be unlocked by clearing Noelle's story. Gadget Drone is that resident joke character, with pitiful health, awful damage, only 2 spells, and no ultimates. The Complete Edition adds Striker's Nanoha, Striker's Fate, and the Magic Knight Trio from Wraith to the roster, without needing to unlock them. Patch in the game to version 1.70 adds in Lina and Naga from Slayers, Kukuri from Mahojin Guruguru, and Hayate and Vita from Nanoha A's. Hidden behind the final challenge missions are the Lord of Nightmares from Slayer and Kita Kita Oyaji from Mahojin Guruguru. Naturally, these last 2 characters are the hardest to unlock, since, unlike the story mode, missions can't be set to easy, and their challenge can reach to some absurd levels. So for this final battle, Fate joins Nanoha against Noelle and her drones. Luckily, with fights like this one and the last one with Rudu, you only need to take out the boss character to end the battle. Not that the swarming grunts make that easier. But, once that's done, the girls have a talk, which can't be skipped for some reason. Befriending happens, and the story ends. Again, since I didn't fix the locale reader, the credits are unfortunately unreadable, so I'll just skip past those. Before I close this out, I want to take a quick talk about the missions, because you see, I'm actually very mixed on the missions. Conceptually, most of them are interesting, and some are actually fun. Look, you can play Whack-A-Mole as Vita smashing gadget drones. Others are questionable. Ultimately, they're doable, but not without a certain level of stupid stubbornness. Otherwise, they definitely feel impossible. I mean, look. Just look. This is the first mission. The first of 33. Some missions end up showcasing just how unviable certain moves or strategies are. The worst ones are the missions where you need to finish a certain number of ultimate attacks within the time limit. It's not enough just to land them. They also need to resolve within that time limit. If you land an ultimate but time runs out while you're stuck in the animation, that's too bad. Still, I did them all, just so I could say that I did. And also to unlock everyone. So yeah, that's Magical Battle Arena. If you can read Japanese, and remember to set the proper locale so the computer can too, it's a neat little game. It definitely feels like an ambitious project that actually came to fruition. And considering that Area Zero is still around making things, I'd say they succeeded. I'm not good at it, and I don't plan to be, but maybe someone out there wants to. I'll get around to Magical Battle Arena next eventually myself, since there are more magical girls to battle and enjoy.